Thank you, Mr. Matthew, for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. All
right. Saturday was a very busy day and hectic, chaotic, and everything tick behind it. While we are able to laugh about it now, it was really, really, crazy in those areas where elections happened on Saturday. Let us take a look at, the exercise as it went down in Imo and Kogi and Bayelsa. What's your reaction to the entire outcome of the process?
I think I would say we are not ready for democracy from what I'm seeing. Because it appears as if INEC is not ready to allow the democracy to flourish. Well, for me, the political class will always want to circumvent the rule. But it is in the place of INEC to ensure that they put everybody on check. Because INEC have the power to even regulate the conduct of stakeholders. But unfortunately, in this round of obstacle election, we're even seeing a novel threat. I'm talking about the evidence all over the media, all over the internet about electoral officers to the polling unit coming to polling unit with pre-feed from EC8A. I think this is unimaginable.
All right, just like you mentioned, the evidence, they're everywhere on social media. I mean, so many videos flying around. Joshua earlier this morning mentioned about a certain adult man who was, stripped down to his feet, and he was caught with live ammunition, and he couldn't answer to what those were meant for. I mean, that's the height of the irregularities that we saw on Saturday. While some local government areas were entirely cancelled, some people do not even understand what happened in some other places. But at the end of the day, some persons have been declared winners. People have taken to their media platforms and, other contenders from other political parties also issuing statements and expressing their displeasure and dissatisfaction. And while the winning team, I would call it that, have come out to say that it was a very free, fair, and properly conducted election, especially the major population on social media, young persons from these states disagreeing totally. I mean, of course, alluding to the number of evidence and social media videos circulating. Would you agree that to an extent, or to whatever extent, that there was a part of this exercise on Saturday that was properly conducted, free and fair?
For me, I think if you look at our electoral act, violence have no place, manipulation have no place. Like I just mentioned about, mention of pre-feed from EC8A. But we are looking at the area you may say conform with the electoral act. I think violence is not too much. I think perhaps because the people have realized, the political class have realized that what they need to achieve success, whether they read or not, do not necessarily depend on violence. You look at particularly in Kogi State and Imo State, we have so many reports of INEC officials, whether it's ad hoc, but I'm talking about pool officers, coming to the polling unit with already feed from EC8A. So perhaps because they feel that that is a better way to such rigging rather than violence. But for me, I think I don't think there's any angle or any way I can point to see it totally conformed to the
and some elections have been postponed in Kogi State. But then looking at the situation of things, people are beginning to say that there is no hope, especially when taking individuals to court. And now they are pushing for jungle justice. Whoever that is caught, in any malpractice such as what we saw in the election, should be dealt with right on the spot. What's your view about that?
For me, I hope INEC did not crash this democracy. Because look at the statement that is accredited to the SDP candidate in Kogi State.
Yes.
Say, though the election is rigged, that he will not waste his time in court. It's going to show that Nigerians are already losing confidence in the judiciary, not just in the electoral process. So where does that lead us to? It's a recipe for anarchy. Because the man who is aggrieved, who refuses to go to the court to seek redress because he don't have confidence in the judicial process, he may choose any other option as a way of expressing his displeasure. So for me, I think there's urgent need for everybody, the government, to find a solution to this quagmire, because the way it is, you need to overhaul INEC as a body, because INEC seems to be the problem. INEC seems to be at the center of all these malpractices. Because even if you say you want to rig an election, without the collaboration of INEC as a body, I think it's practically impossible.
Yes.
We are looking at for EC8A, that is supposed to be a confidential document, sensitive material. How did it get into the hand of politicians, the ruling class, the political class, to the point that the INEC officials were coming to polling units with already filled forms? So for me, I think we need, as a people, as a country, the need for urgent action.
Yeah, you know why I'm saying this? Because when we push for an overhaul of the system, Nigerians are of the mindset, especially when I listen on various platforms, on the spaces, that you might just get another, Mahmood, because obviously the same situation might just play out. Okay, you guys need an overhaul. We've done an overhaul. There is a new person there, on board, but it might just be a replica of what is already in place.
No. The point I'm
coming because there's a place I'm going with this statement. We saw in an election where, whether it was actually a police officer or someone impersonating the police, found in malpractice. You saw how he was beaten almost to stupor. We are saying that if such trend continues like this might deter anyone who might be used either by INEC or politicians to my election. So are we gradually saying that jungle justice is the way to go in order to mitigate this unnecessary involving themselves in political practices, especially when it comes to election period? Should that be the way to go right about now to deter anyone from thinking of being used by politicians to disrupt election?
I'm not advocating jungle justice. I'm not encouraging jungle justice, but I'm saying that we have to make the system to work. And the only way, the best way to make it work, in my considered opinion, is to reduce human interference.
How does that work?
I think we should move closer to technology. Because if you are looking at uploading the election result electronically, that was the popular opinion before now. But if you look at these current threats that came up from Kogi and Imo election, I think uploading it electronically, the SN would have been defeated if somebody would call to a polling unit with already filled form. So perhaps we should move to the level of proper electronic voting. And by so doing, we need to amend the necessary sections of our Electoral Act.
All right, let us still dwell on INEC for a bit. Talking about an umpire that is, basically organized or planned or, prior to endorsing it, is supposed to be independent, hence the name Independent National Electoral Commission. But a lot of fingers have been pointed to that umpire in the recent times as it regards elections and how that they are being manipulated. And you had also alluded to commissions when you said INEC seems to be the problem. And for an election that happened between just 3 states, which is not even up to 5 or 10% of what we have if we were going to conduct a general election for the entire country, you would have expected a better performance of the umpire. But no, we didn't get that. We got almost an even worse situation than we had in the February and March elections that happened in this country. You did mention an overhaul of INEC. Before we get to the point where we're moving on towards technology. That would probably take us another 4 years to get ready for when we get ready for another general elections, right? But what can be done with the situation that we have now to make sure that INEC actually, in its proper sense, is independent and void of any form of human manipulations or interactions? And of course, when you say when you look at, just like Josh mentioned, we might be looking at getting another Mahmoud if you told the lines of just removing the leader and putting in somebody else. The process that brings these people into office, what do you think about that process, and what can be done to make it better so that we can get more, competent individuals who would function in these offices and make elections a better thing to look at in this country?
If actually you want to make INEC independent, I think the best thing to do is to tinker with the Constitution, to tinker with the Electoral Act, because the perception of who pays the piper dictates the tune is always there. And I think you need to remove the appointment of INEC chairman from the office of the Mr. President. Even the national commissioners, you need to remove from the office of Mr. President. If you do that, I think they will not be answerable to anyone by way of hiring and firing.